And now next session, we have session number 14. And the speaker of this session is Dr. Adil Hossain. I will request Dr. Adil Hossain to come on the dais. And this session will be chaired by Dr. Sadaf Moosa. I will also request her to come. So Tanya, please welcome them with conference. Yes. Istihad sir, so he'll be speaking on the social justice and social citizenship, the struggle for OBC reservation in West Bengal. Now I request Kainat to briefly introduce today's speaker and the chair.
Thank you, sir. Assalamualaikum, everyone. We now move on to our next session, which will be chaired by Dr. Sadaf Moosa. Dr. Moosa is currently working as an assistant professor of law at Xavier Law School at Xavier University, Kolkata. She has completed her PhD in law from Bankura University on the impact of genetically modified crops on agriculture, ecological order and food sovereignty, a socio-legal analysis with reference to existing Indian laws. She has completed BA LLB and postgraduate diploma in women's studies from Aligarh Muslim University and LLM in corporate laws from Jamia Millia Islamia. She has contributed chapters in edited books by national and international publishers and research articles in peer-reviewed journals, and also presented papers at international and national conferences. She is also actively involved in legal services and represented as a social activist and member of the bench of Lok Adalat organized by the State Legal Services Authority, West Bengal. Our speaker for this session is Dr. Adil Hossain, who will be speaking on social justice and social citizenship, the struggle for OBC reservation in West Bengal. Dr. Hossain is an assistant professor at the School of Development, Azim Premji University. He had earlier received his doctorate degree in international development from the University of Oxford as a Merton QEH scholar on the topic of politics of citizenship in the aftermath of ethnic conflict. He is in the process of converting this thesis into a monograph. At Azim Premji University, he is leading a project on Bengali Muslims and social citizenship in the state of West Bengal in India. He had also worked as a political journalist in India and published in The Guardian, Scroll, The Queen's, The Wire and other such publications. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Moosa and Dr. Hossain. Ma'am, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, first of all, I want to thank Bengali Academia for Social Empowerment to give me this opportunity and to invite me to chair this session as well as to be the part of this 2 days conference, national conference. Now I would like to invite Dr. Adil Hossain to speak on the topic social justice and social citizenship, the struggle for OBC reservation in West Bengal. Sir.
Thanks so much, and I thank BASE for this wonderful opportunity. Oh, okay. I'm extremely thankful to BASE for this wonderful opportunity to talk to you about this important topic. I'm very happy to see some familiar faces. Sohail Bhai was my very dear senior. He cared for me a lot in Aligarh Muslim University when I was doing my undergrad and masters. So I'm very happy to see a familiar face here. And after a long time, possibly, I'm seeing him. Almost after a decade. And so my talk will be part academic and part political, in the sense that I am going to talk about, as a political anthropologist, I am observing whatever is happening, especially with regard to the political development, the legal development with regard to the OBC reservation case. And just before the session chaired by Sohail Bhai, already there was elaborate discussion on what is happening in the legal matters. Now my research is on conflict and riots in Gujarat, but then as a Bengali Muslim myself, now I have turned my gaze toward the problem of my own community. Now the question of social citizenship, if we understand that what is citizenship, in citizenship the easiest explanation of citizenship is that citizenship is being member of a community. Now a community can be of many thing. A community can be a poet, a community can be a club, a community can be on kinship ties. So to basically differentiate that, later on philosopher Hannah Arendt said that no, citizenship is actually about being member of a political community. That community must have some kind of a political characteristics to it. Now, what is social citizenship? Now, social citizenship we understand with the social aspect of citizenship. Now, these questions of who is a citizen, what basically citizenship does, and then the question is what do we get from being a citizen? These are the three important questions. And these questions are basically dealt with this particular aspect. Now, citizenship has three elements: the civil, the political, and the social question. Now, all the economic questions are subsumed under this social question. Now, this particular theory of citizenship was famously given by sociologist Marshall. And Marshall basically characterized this particular three aspects of citizenship of civil, political, and social as the whole range from the right to a modicum of economic welfare and security to the right to share to the full in the social heritage and to live the life of a civilized being according to the standards prevailing in the society. Now, these social rights of individual citizens are connected with this social citizenship question. So, citizenship is also not just legal question, is not a legal matter the way we understand that, we have a passport or we have a voter ID card. Citizenship is also about social institution, institution where people are connected with each other. That's also come under the question of citizenship. Now, the idea of, there are two ways to imagine citizenship and what comes with citizenship as a bundle of rights. One is obviously in a socialist state, and another is obviously in a liberal capitalist state. In this case, in case of socialist state, we understand that we get some kind of a social benefit. Right now, the famous is possibly Lokhi Bhandar to everything. These are actually part of the citizenship, social citizenship claims. So people who enjoy social citizenship, they get social rights, and they are not just as a handouts. This is also an important question. And another aspect of citizenship is this, the question of dignity. That unless and until these social citizenship are not provided in terms of these economic matters, as I said, the word is the life of a civilized being. According to the standards prevailing in the society, the dignity can't be detached from this particular question. Now, social citizenship is inherently linked with the question of reservations as well. This is where I'm particularly talking about, that the question of social citizenship and reservations are connected, especially with regard to, we understand reservations first time introduced in India, especially for the other backward classes, as we know, first time for the jobs in 1991, and in the educational institutions during the time of Arjun Singh in 2006. Now, we had a major discussions with regard to that how do we understand other backward classes, whether this is a caste question or this is a class question. Now, I have no hesitation to say that with regard to Muslims, we have some kind of a ideological closure to discuss the issue of caste within the Muslim community. I will come back to that question later, but let's come back to the question of that why we are using the word backwardness. Now, the backwardness word has a moral force on the immediate community that Hannah Arendt talks about. And that backwardness basically today underwrites our affirmative action, reservation, social welfare policy in India. Now the issue of backwardness and how it is connected with caste, it is connected with caste and backwardness, it is connected mainly with obviously the endogamy, the question of marriage, whether how much the marriage between caste are happening, that will decide ultimately the characteristics of the characteristics of that particular caste or community through land, and especially that's why I was also thinking about this question, when in the previous session with regard to the question of the sharecroppers in the 1870 and how the Bengal Muslim political thought emerged with the different nature of sharecroppers and property. So we first time we see that backward classes, when it was first time defined in 1929, they said that caste or classes which are educationally backward. That's how it was imagined at the time. And two basically words at that time emerged. One is obviously the depressed classes, and another was the backward classes. The caste in the list of backward, when it was imagined 39 in 1895 and by 131 in 1920. This is, I'm talking about only one presidency, Madras presidency. Now, when the backward classes emerge as a moral category, it's a moral category on the community, it's a moral claim on the community that, okay, we are backward and we demand special attention. It actually started lot of many backward classes league, and especially backward classes league formed by Shudras and Ati Shudra community. Now, I have to say that such kind of associations were not formed from the Muslim community. And right now, when we see that what happened after post 1947, these depressed classes became the SC/ST, and the backward classes of Shudras and Ati Shudras, they became the part of the discussion on other backward classes. Ambedkar's own explanation was at the time that backward community is a community which is backward in the opinion of the state government, and that is why you find today, this is where the ideological thought goes, where the state government can actually publish their own list apart from the union government, that the caste hierarchy and the local hierarchy and stratifications are very much depend upon the local context, and that's why the state government must have the right to decide their own other backward classes list. Ambedkar was very much against defining the other backward classes, because he thought that it will be a huge block against, at the time, the depressed classes, which became later on the scheduled caste and other groups. So that's why he didn't actually at the time define, and even till today it is not defined, and that's why all the problems of Maratha to everyone, even the dominant groups are also demanding this OBC category. Dominant land groups I'm talking about. But in the end, we understand that backward classes are nothing else but a collection of certain castes. So unless and until you don't recognize yourself with certain caste, the backward classes reservation can't be given to you. You just can't say we are a class, we are a community, we are any type. If you are going to give you that kind of characteristics to the community that you think you belong to, backward classes reservation can't be offered to you. And that's how many academics actually looked at that. Now, taking cue of this, that's how the various national and state commission of backward classes started to look at it, and that's how Galanter also talked about that how this backwardness in a caste and backwardness in several marginalized communities, including non-Hindus, that became the moral force that actually they made the moral force with regard to this particular claims. Now, this caste versus class question was dealt with these first two commissions. Now, these are the only two commissions that was formed with regard to other backward classes in India till now, since 1947. One is the Justice Kaka Kalekar Commission and another is the Mandal Commission. Now, with regard to Kaka Kalekar Commission, before to come back to that, the Kaka Kalekar Commission actually, they talked about both caste and community in 1953. They basically understood that classes can be identified by the commission, that can be caste or community, but then this question comes that, okay, apart from caste, some other characteristics can be there as well. On the other hand, Mandal Commission was very clear on the definition of other backward classes, that it must be the caste, and for non-Hindus, the commission was very clear with regard to the criteria that all the untouchables who converted to other religion, they will be the part of that other backward classes, and all the communities which were identified by their traditional occupation. So they had to express their jati, and unless and until you don't express their jati, then only you will be considered within the other backward classes. Now, in the Indra Shawni case that we discussed earlier, Indra Shawni case also actually discussed this particular contradiction between caste versus class, and Justice Pandian actually gave as you can see, a very non-caste kind of characteristics to this other backward classes, the characteristics of non-backward OBC, that a group of person having common traits or attributes coupled with retarded social, material and intellectual development, in the sense not having so much of intellect and ability, will fall within the ambit of any backward classes of citizens under the Article 16.4. But as you can see in the final analysis, however, the court settled uneasily on the view that a caste, when it satisfies the taste of backwardness, may be denoted as a backward class. Now I am coming back to this. So this is the academic part of my talk. Now I am coming back to the political part of my talk, which is that I believe that till now we are piggybacking on the Mandal Commission and other movement with regard to our claim over other backward classes. Now, we, as I said, we didn't have any backward caste movement within the Muslim community. However, we know today from the political realities that even if you say that, we are a Muslim community, we are very backward, according to Rangnath Mishra Commission, we are just 2%, or according to such a commission, we are just 3% in the Bengal universities, or 3% in the government jobs. You go and present the data to the government, and as we are seeing the Supreme Court proceedings or the statements by the Prime Minister, we can't actually claim other backward class or their benefits. So unless and until you don't recognize yourself as a Shershabadi, unless and until you don't recognize yourself as a Nasro Sheikh, unless and until you don't recognize yourself as a Halal Court, you can't go to your local municipal commissioner and demand that particular OBC certificate. That is judiciary, and the executive is very much clear that unless and until you don't do that, you can't actually claim that. Now, in the age of Hindutva, we are definitely mired within the majoritarian and minority politics. And I believe that we have arrived in the Second Republic. If I borrow the term from the French political system, we have arrived in the Second Republic since 2014. Now, the Nehruvian understanding of majority and minority rights under Article 29 or 30, I am not going towards the legal matters because I feel that the legal matters can be changed anytime. The judges can be given any kind of explanation. Ultimately, what I am relying on is the political development, and how, as an anthropologist, I am more interested in community relations. And in community relations, what I am finding is this, that the majority and minority binary, the way the Muslim politics is defined today, the more we are talking ourselves as a minority community, we are falling within the trap of Hindutva, because ultimately all our claims are nullified the moments we are claiming ourselves as a minority or minority rights, because they are basically saying that whatever was the understanding during the Nehruvian era with regard to minority rights, we are going to upend that in the next few years. That's what the political development is happening right now at the moment. And we are also dishonest with ourselves. We are not basically having a backward caste movement, or we are not finding association with other backward caste movement happening in Maharashtra or other places. We are basically right now saying that, okay, as a Muslim we have become backward. This is how the social disabilities with us. So if we can't get reservation other ways, why don't you give us reservation under the OBC category, because that is the only constitutionally recognized category that is there. So we are not basically ready to recognize ourselves or form association. And I believe this is very controversial. What I am saying is this, that more than recognizing ourselves as a minority groups, as a Bengali Muslim group, and claiming that backwardness claim from the state and civil society, we are basically falling into the same trap of Hindutva. I believe that just the way these backward classes commission happened in the 1920s and 30s, I believe that all the 131 caste associations, they should form their own groups, and that's how they should negotiate with the state. So there should be a Nostrosek association, there should be a Shershavadi association, there should be each and every group should have their own individual association. And you may say that this is a recipe for breaking the community, but I will say that even that the claim of the community as a minority is right now is not drawing any kind of basically the social citizenship claim, because ultimately the basis for social citizenship claim within the majority minority that was discussed or formed during the Nehruvian era has broken down in the Narendra Modi era basically. And that's where one way that we can actually talk about it is the way Prime Minister himself is talking about the caste question. So if we are proving ourselves that okay, recently I think I want to actually play this speech by Prime Minister, and I have to say this, that we may not be reading hierarchy and difference. We may not be, don't know that so many castes exist. Especially I find that so many sociologists, I meet so many sociologist professors, except the one who are working with possibly caste, they don't know these many names, even established professors in many other universities. But see the names that Prime Minister is mentioning here, which basically shows that how much he is possibly reading and how much he is actually think that that can be used for political leverage. And that's why I think this speech is kind of, I believe, is very important to know that how they are looking at this particular question.
मुसलमान भाई बहन है, उनका तो जीना भी मुश्किल करके रखा हुआ है। वो तो तबाह हो गए, उनको कोई फायदा नहीं मिला है। वे कष्ट में गुजरा करते हैं, उनकी आवाज सुनने के लिए कोई तैयार नहीं है।
Sorry, is basically what he is doing here in this, let me try this, that he is actually mentioning at least 10 to 15 castes, just naming one after another caste, and some of the castes are actually cancelled by the Calcutta High Court. So what I am basically saying that we have to use this political language and revert back to the same language. We can't actually talk to the political realities by saying that okay, by such a committee we are backward, that's why give us reservation. By Rangnath Mishra Commission we are backward, that Muslims are 3% in Bengal, that give us reservation. That language doesn't have any legal recognition, as the Supreme Court, I think that day Justice Gawai said, nor Prime Minister as yesterday said in his speech in Parliament that we are not going to give you any reservation based on religion. And that's why I believe that with regard to the question of social citizenship, with regard to the question of this OBC reservation, I believe and I hope that more and more after this judgment, I don't know whatever happens on January 7 in the Supreme Court case, but I believe that there should, all these caste association from all the Muslim groups should mushroom from now on. If they want to individually claim, and then they say that, we are backward, these are the, because right now, even if I think some, Sir was talking about the Staff Selection Commission. Staff Selection Commission and other commission, all the survey is currently with the government. They are going to tell you all the surveys, or you can put RTI, that okay, these many Muslims are there in the jobs, these many Muslims are there in Jadavpur University, in these courses and that courses. But that data is not going to give you anything in the legal arena. That if you are going with those kinds of data, you have to say that how many Shershavadiyas there in that particular university, and that basically form under Article 16(2), they are not adequately represented, or they are backward. They are backward. What is the number of the Shershavadiya community, and what is the number of them in the colleges and universities or in the jobs? What is the number of Nostrosek? What is the number, particularly number, and how much they are represented in the universities and colleges? And all the 131 or 140, how many castes are there in West Bengal? They need similar data. One data is possibly available with the universities already, since the OBC reservation was done. I believe all the universities has given admission based on OBC certificates. So they just have to collate that data and have to present that. That's one possibly option, where they collate that kind of data based on the certificates, and then they say, okay, these are the numbers that we have. So this is what I wanted to. I don't have much time, but this is what I was talking about, that how social citizenship and the reservation both can come together conceptually and at the political level as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir has very elaborately defined the concept of social citizenship, and he has also pointed out how the social citizenship is connected with the reservation. He has also highlighted various components of backwardness, and he has emphasized that the state government has the right to decide its own caste list. He has also discussed various judicial pronouncements and discussed the political development in the OBC reservation. Now I would like to invite one question.
One comment just about. Can I speak in Bengali?
Yes, please.
একটা বিষয় যেটা হয়েছিল যে এই ওবিসি রিজার্ভেশনটা বাতিল করে দেওয়ার পরের দিনই আনন্দবাজার পত্রিকায় রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞানী পার্থ চট্টোপাধ্যায়, যার থিওরি পড়ানো হয় আমাদের, উনি একটা সুন্দর আর্টিকেল লিখেছিলেন এটাকে কাউন্টার করে আর কি, যে তিনটে ভিত্তিতে এই আর্টিকেল বাতিল করেছে সেটা যে কতটা মানে একটা ইনজাস্টিস, সেটা উনি খুব সুন্দরভাবে কাউন্টার করেছিলেন। আজও সেটা এক্সিস্ট আছে, আমি দেখলাম জাস্ট যখন টপিকটা চলছিল, যে জাতীয় জনগণনার সমস্যায় কি শেষ সমাধান দিয়ে আনন্দবাজার পত্রিকায় উনি লিখেছিলেন যে তালিকা 2010-এর তালিকা বৃদ্ধি প্রশাসনিক অর্ডার মারফত হয়েছিল, নতুন আইন প্রণয়ন করা হয়নি, এই জন্য বাতিল করা হয়েছিল। তালিকা দ্বিখণ্ডিত করার ব্যাপারে ব্যাকওয়ার্ড ক্লাস কমিশনের পরামর্শ নেওয়া হয়নি। তালিকায় সংযোজন নিয়ে সুপারিশ করার আগেও কমিশন যথেষ্ট তথ্য নির্ভর সমীক্ষা করা হয়নি। এই তিনটে যে বিষয়কে উনি পুরো এই বিষয়টার মধ্যে পুরোভাবে একদম দ্বিখণ্ডিত করেছে। হ্যাঁ, পুরো যে করেছে ওটা করলে ভালো হবে, এখন অতটা বলার টাইম নেই কারণ খুবই শর্ট এবং স্পেসিফিক টাইম আছে। ওটা খুব সুন্দর, আমি জাস্ট এটাই জাস্ট সাধারণ লেখাটা ছিল, জাস্ট মেনশন করতে চাই, আর কিছু না।
Always there's one point that High Court that has argued in terms of OBC reservation, that the backward commission have surveyed only 5% of the population. But if you look at the Mandal Commission, in fact, in the Mandal Commission also, only one block from the each districts was surveyed in order to present the view.
I totally agree that courts are practicing discrimination against Muslim community, and we understand what happened with Justice Chandrachud did with the Places of Worship Act. We are seeing the impact. So I'm saying this with full consciousness, and I am very clear that courts are going to discriminate Muslims in the future based on the political development, not based on sound legal principles. So it may happen that Mandal Commission may be accepted in Maharashtra High Court, or their report may be rejected here in Calcutta High Court. It can happen. Citizenship, we know that citizenship definition changed with Maharashtra High Court to how it was defined in Assam High Court. So these can happen based on the local political realities and development. What I am particularly arguing is this, that we have, that irrespective of the political development, we have to basically turn back the same language that they are actually using. And in the sense that we have to have that kind of a conversation where we basically, one, that we talk about this, that you also talked about it, that one, that Muslims are not monolithic political category. Secondly is this, that the minority majority politics is actually, because ultimately the goal of Hindutva is to form 80% versus 20%, a permanent majority, a permanent political majority, which is there in Gujarat, which is my field of research. 63% now vote for BJP there. And if in any state 60% vote for you, you are there forever. Like, you can't replace. In West Bengal, Trinamool Congress get 44% or 43%. So that's the ultimate idea, that the majority and minority will not be constructed based on class, based on caste, but based on Hindu and Muslim category, which is going back to the Savarkar idea of fatherland versus motherland. That's the political development happening right now. my question is that in that kind of a political development, how we can actually think about it, and that's where I'm coming, that we have to go beyond the majority-minority politics. That minority rights, which is again I'm saying very controversial, minority rights is a very, it's a concept through which people claim rights throughout the world. It's a very powerful moral category that, you know, today in Bangladesh we are talking about minority rights. Everywhere we are talking about. In Syria, recently the HTS got power. America is asking, are you going to protect minority rights or not? So minority rights is a very powerful force in that sense, huge moral claim on that. But what I am feeling with regard to the OBC, minority rights and that kind of framework is not helping us. We have to go back to these individual, I think, caste association that I think by the 1931, which is the last census, I think. And that way I think we can claim individual claims, and even if it means breaking up the community into smaller fragments, but that I believe with regard to the social justice claim, our claim will be higher with regard to the state and civil society.
That means you want to tell that we need Jalange Patils for separate OBC groups.
Thank you, Dr. Sadaf Moosa, Madam, for sharing the session. Also, thank you, Dr. Adil Hossain, for your wonderful lecture.